Have you ever stopped and wondered what is actually burning inside you? Not the cheap spark of motivation that fades after watching yet another self-help video, but the real thing, the raw, relentless, unstoppable inner reactor that shapes your decisions, your fears, your victories, and the way you rise after every fall. Today, we're not going to waste time with surface-level psychology or generic personality questions. No checkboxes, no cliches, no pick-your-favorite-color nonsense. Instead, we're going straight into the deep layers of your subconscious, the exact realm of symbols and archetypes that Carl Jung spent his entire life studying. This is not a simple picture test. This is a visual dialogue with your unconscious, an encounter with the part of yourself that rarely speaks, but always knows the truth. We will show you 5 sources of light. Your task is simple, and yet incredibly revealing. Don't think, don't analyze, don't try to be practical, just feel. Which light calls to you right now, in this exact moment? Because your intuitive choice is the answer to the question you keep avoiding. Who are you, really? What is the nature of your inner flame? And what is your purpose? The one that has been trying to speak to you for years. Think of this as your one chance to stare directly into your own inner abyss, and finally understand the force that has been guiding you, shaping you, pushing you from within. And yes, the price of this journey is simple: a like and a subscription. That's the local currency here. It's what gives us the energy to keep creating content like this, content that actually goes somewhere deeper than the surface. But before we begin, I want to ask you a quick question. It helps us understand who's here today. Do you believe your inner light is something you were born with, or something forged through life's trials? Comment 1 if you think it's inborn. Comment 2 if you believe it's shaped by experience. I'm genuinely curious to see which side dominates today. Now, let's begin. Symbol 1. The ship lantern, endurance and experience. Picture it clearly. This isn't a shiny new lantern from a home decor catalog. Its brass frame is darkened by time, marked with dents from storms that nearly tore the world apart. The thick glass is scratched by salt and wind. This lantern was not created for beauty. It was built to survive and to shine when everything else fails. If this is the light you chose, then hear this. Your inner fire is not a gift. It is a weapon forged in battle. You are someone who has walked through hell, survived, and stepped out harder than steel. You don't believe in shortcuts. Your wisdom isn't made of quotes. It's made of scars. People come to you for real advice because they know you speak from lived truth, not borrowed lines. You're the one who throws the lifeline without hesitation and points the right direction without bragging. Your strength is your unbreakable persistence. Your message to the world is simple. The storm will end, and until it ends, I will keep my flame alive. But there is more beneath that strength, a private museum of battles fought, losses endured, and lessons earned with blood and time. That is where your shadow sleeps. And now, we'll begin exploring that deeper layer. For all your strength, for all your history of surviving what others would never endure, there is a truth buried deep inside you. A truth most people will never guess when they look at you. Your inner world is a fortress built from the remains of past battles. Every scar is a stone in its walls, every loss a locked room, every victory a window that lets a little light in. You may not show it, but your psyche is an archive of storms. This is your gift, but also your burden. Because when you've weathered that many tempests, something happens. You begin to expect them. Even when the sea is calm, you feel tension in the air. You watch the horizon the way a veteran watches the battlefield, scanning for threats, reading signs no one else notices, preparing for a disaster that may never come. Trust, for you, is not natural. It is earned slowly, painfully, through years of consistency. You don't open your gates easily because you've lived through what happens when the wrong person gets inside. And when betrayal strikes, it leaves marks deeper than anyone sees. Your relationships reflect this. People know you as reliable, grounded, honest, the one who stands firm when everyone else panics. But very few know how much strength it takes for you to stay soft. Very few understand that your silence is not coldness, it's discipline, and your independence is not pride, it's armor. Your authority comes not from loud speeches, but from the quiet weight of your presence. People feel safer around you, even if they don't know why. It's because you've become something rare, a human landmark, a reference point in a chaotic world. But that power has a shadow. Your resilience can harden into rigidity. You cling to old maps even when the terrain has changed. You trust proven paths more than new possibilities. Admitting you're wrong feels like surrender, and asking for help feels like defeat. Your shadow is pride born from pain, the kind of pride that whispers, "I have survived alone. I don't need anyone." And yet, beneath that steel exterior is exhaustion that you refuse to acknowledge. You run on instinct, on duty, on responsibility. And sometimes you forget that even the strongest lantern can burn out if no one tends to its flame. Jung warned us, what you deny within yourself becomes your destiny. If you deny your need for rest, if you deny your need for support, if you deny your longing to feel safe in someone else's presence, then one day your light may dim, not from weakness, but from sheer depletion. People might mistake you for being too serious, too stern, too distant. But those who truly know you understand your loyalty is unmatched. Your love is steady, unshakable. The kind of love that anchors ships in the worst storms. Your inner motto is the same one Jung lived by. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And you, through every trial, have chosen to become unbreakable. Your path to wholeness now lies in learning to distinguish the ghosts of old battles from real danger, and in giving yourself permission to be not only strong, but human. Now that we've uncovered the depths behind the ship lantern, it's time to shift into a completely different form of inner light. Because the next symbol is not forged in storms. It creates worlds. Now, step with me out of the cold wind and away from the brutal storms of the open sea. Let's enter a different world, warm, fragrant, mysterious. Imagine narrow alleyways glowing with soft evening light. The air carries the scent of spices, jasmine, and distant music. Shadows dance along walls covered in patterns older than history. And hanging above one of these stone passages is the Moroccan lantern. Unlike the weather-beaten brass of the ship lantern, this one is delicate, intricate, almost ethereal. Its metal frame is cut into mesmerizing patterns, lacework made of shadow and steel. Inside it burns the same flame as any other lantern, but here the fire becomes something else entirely. A kaleidoscope of colors and shapes that transforms every surface around it. If your intuition led you to choose this lantern, it tells a powerful truth about you. You see beauty where others see nothing. You create magic from ordinary things. Your light doesn't shine in a straight line. It blooms, expands, refracts. You're not just living life, you're shaping it. Every choice you make has an artistic footprint. The way you speak, the way you decorate your space, the way you cook, dress, laugh, or dream, everything carries your personal signature. When you walk into a room, reality becomes a bit more colorful. Your gift is rare. You don't just endure life, you beautify it. While others try to survive, you try to transform. Your wisdom lies not in enduring storms, but in finding joy, even in small things. You can sense nuances others overlook. You hear undercurrents in voices. You feel emotions before they're spoken. You notice meaning in symbols, patterns, coincidences. This choice, as Jung would say, reveals a psyche deeply connected to the imaginal world, the realm where intuition, creativity, and soul speak their native language. But every gift carries a shadow, and the shadow of the Moroccan lantern is just as intricate as its beauty. Your sensitivity to beauty can become a shield against ugliness. You despise monotony, mediocrity, and the harshness of raw reality. When life becomes gray, you instinctively run into art, into novelty, into exciting people and stimulating projects. You'd rather drown in color than face the dull weight of the everyday. You decorate problems instead of confronting them. You avoid emotional darkness because you fear that if you fall into it, its emptiness will swallow your light whole. You are brilliant at beginnings, but restless at endings. You chase inspiration, but routine drains you. You can craft thousands of ideas, but finishing one feels like suffocating under structure and rules. Your creative mind is a workshop full of half-finished masterpieces, magnificent, chaotic, overwhelming. To those around you, you're intoxicating. You make life sparkle. You're the one who spontaneously turns a quiet evening into an unforgettable adventure. You're the friend who brings color to the dullest days. You're the partner who turns love into a poetic ritual. But people of the ship lantern archetype may struggle with you. They crave order. You thrive in creative chaos. Your shadow is fear of depth, fear that beneath the beauty, you might find something you don't want to see. So you keep moving, keep creating, keep distracting. As Jung wrote, all true creativity is instinctive. It rises from within, not from the world outside. Your instinct is to beautify, to transform. But your path to maturity lies in accepting that not everything can or should be decorated. Sometimes the crack in the wall needs to be acknowledged, not hidden under another beautiful pattern. Your soul's journey is learning to find beauty in simplicity, to find joy in stillness, and to complete what you start, not only what inspires you. Because when you balance your light with grounding, your creativity becomes unstoppable. Now let's step into the next kind of light, one that glows not for beauty, nor for endurance, but for warmth. Now we leave behind the fierce storms of the ship lantern and the dazzling colors of the Moroccan lantern. For the next symbol, we step into something quieter, more human, more intimate. Picture a simple lantern, maybe made of wood, maybe shaped from old iron. Inside it flickers not a beam, not a kaleidoscope, but a single living flame, a candle. Its light doesn't travel far. It won't cut through fog or paint the walls with patterns, but it comforts, it soothes, it warms. If this is the light that spoke to you, then your inner flame is the flame of compassion. You are the hearth of your community, the one who brings people back to themselves. Your warmth is not loud, it is not showy, it is steady, consistent, healing. People don't come to you for instructions or inspiration. They come to you because near you, their hearts stop shivering. You listen without judgment. You create a sense of peace simply by being present. You make people feel safe enough to take off their armor and show the parts they hide from the world. You may not think of yourself as a leader, but you are, in the most profound way. You lead by presence, not performance, by sincerity, not spectacle, by care, not commands. Your gift is the rare ability to warm the coldness of others. In a world obsessed with noise, you offer silence. In a world obsessed with speed, you offer gentleness. In a world obsessed with ambition, you offer belonging. But even this tender, beautiful light has a shadow. Your compassion can blur into self-sacrifice. Your generosity can dissolve into exhaustion. Your desire to help can transform into a need to be needed. And that is where the danger begins. Without realizing it, you might start giving away pieces of yourself to people who take and take and take. Because high-empathy individuals like you naturally attract those who feed on warmth without giving any back. You step in to help because you care. But sometimes you step in because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't. Your subconscious may whisper, "If I stop giving, will they still love me? If I say no, will they leave? If I put myself first, does that make me selfish?" You forget that boundaries are not walls. They are doors you get to open by choice, not obligation. Your shadow often expresses itself quietly, not through anger, but through fatigue, not through shouting, but through sudden withdrawals, not through arguments, but through the body saying enough when the mind refuses to. You may find yourself becoming the secret martyr, the one who always helps, always listens, always cares, and then lies awake wondering why no one ever asks, "Are you okay?" Jung warned, being gifted doesn't mean you received something. It means you have something to give. You took that message to heart, perhaps too literally. You give until your cup is dry, then you give a little more anyway. But your path toward wholeness requires a new kind of courage. The courage to care for yourself with the same devotion you show others. The courage to say no without guilt. The courage to let others carry their own burdens. Because your light can only warm others if your candle is still burning. And when your flame is cared for, nurtured, protected, you become the kind of person who makes the world livable. You bring humanity where there is tension. You bring peace where there is chaos. You bring home where there is loneliness. Your gift is priceless, but it cannot survive without you. Now, we move towards something grander, a light that doesn't warm or decorate, but guides. The Lighthouse. We've explored endurance, creativity, warmth. Now it's time to rise to the highest point of all, to the symbol that does not merely shine, but commands the darkness itself. Picture a massive stone cliff carved by centuries of roaring waves. The ocean crashes against it, with forces that would shatter ships like glass. And towering above that chaos stands the lighthouse. This is not a lantern. This is an institution, a guardian, a titan built for one sacred purpose, to guide others through the unforgiving dark. Inside it burns an enormous, precise, unwavering beam, a light that cuts through miles of storm, fog, and night. A light that sailors rely on, even though most will never see the keeper who maintains it. If you chose the lighthouse, then your soul carries a weight that not everyone can bear. You were born, or shaped, to see the bigger picture. While others drown in immediate problems, you rise above them and understand what truly matters. You see patterns, consequences, direction. You notice where choices lead long before others realize they are choosing at all. People turn to you for clarity when their lives fall into confusion, not for comfort, not for emotional support, but for orientation, for truth. You are the one who points north when everyone else is spinning. You don't get involved in every crisis. You don't jump into other people's boats. You don't steer their ships. You simply shine steadily, and they find their way by aligning themselves with your light. This is leadership in its purest form, detached enough to see clearly, present enough to guide, humble enough to serve, strong enough to stand alone. But that last part, the solitude, is where your shadow begins. Because the higher you climb, the more isolated life becomes. People stop seeing you as a human. They see you as a function, as an oracle, as a tool for direction. They come to you for answers, take what they need, thank you or not, and disappear back into their own journeys. Few ever ask, "And how are you doing up there?" This creates a very specific loneliness. The loneliness of the one who knows too much, sees too far, carries too large a responsibility. You might start thinking, "No one understands me. I operate on a different level. I can't come down. People depend on me. I can't show weakness. It would collapse everything." And because your vision is so broad, you may unintentionally slip into superiority, into intellectual pride, into emotional distance. Your shadow is the temptation to replace empathy with logic, to treat people like pieces in a strategic system, to value truth over tenderness, to dismiss small emotions as irrelevant noise. Jung warned, "Understanding comes not only from clarity, but also from error. But you fear error. You fear being wrong. You fear that if you admit you don't know, people will stop trusting you, and with trust gone, your whole identity might crumble. So you stay in the tower, always watching, always calculating, always shining, but hardly ever being seen. This can turn your wisdom into coldness, your objectivity into judgment, your insight into rigidity, and your guidance into control. People admire you, but they also fear disappointing you. They respect you, but feel you are unreachable. They follow your light, but rarely touch your heart. Your path to wholeness, the crucial next step, is learning to climb down from the tower sometimes, to join the world not as a guide, but as a fellow traveler, to accept your right to be human, imperfect, emotional, vulnerable. Because the greatest wisdom a lighthouse soul can learn is this: you do not exist to be perfect. You exist to shine and to feel. Now our journey brings us to the final and most delicate symbol, a source of light that doesn't guide, doesn't warm, doesn't endure, but ascends. The paper lantern, hope and release. We've walked through storms, colors, warmth, and towering wisdom, but now we arrive at the final symbol, the most fragile, the most misunderstood, and ironically, the most spiritually advanced. The paper lantern. Imagine a cool night sky, still and vast. Someone lights a tiny candle inside a thin shell of paper. For a moment it seems impossible that something so delicate could even hold a flame. But then, slowly, gently, the warm air lifts it upward and it begins to float. It drifts higher and higher, carried not by strength, but by surrender. Not by force, but by trust. Not by resistance, but by release. If this is the light you chose, you are someone who has touched, or is on the edge of touching, a rare form of wisdom. The wisdom of letting go. You've realized, or you are beginning to realize, that fighting life at every turn only exhausts the soul. You've learned that some things cannot be fixed, predicted, or controlled. You've learned that letting go is not weakness. It is alignment with a deeper intelligence. Your light represents hope, acceptance, forgiveness, the quiet courage to rise without pushing. Where others brace themselves against every storm, you lean into the wind. Where others cling to outcomes, you trust the process. Where others fight for certainty, you embrace the unknown. You remind people that even in the darkest night, something small and gentle can ascend toward the stars. But this beautiful light has a very thin boundary, and on the other side of it lies its shadow. Because surrender, when misunderstood, can become avoidance. Flow can become drift. Acceptance can become escapism. You may find yourself saying, "The universe will handle it," when in truth, you're avoiding taking responsibility. You might let opportunities pass you by because you believe everything should unfold effortlessly. You may abandon projects the moment inspiration fades. You could skip difficult conversations, call it peace, and pretend the discomfort doesn't exist. You might detach too quickly, interpret it as enlightenment, and ignore the grounding your life actually needs. Your shadow is passivity masquerading as spirituality. You risk floating through life without roots, without plans, without direction. A lantern carried anywhere the wind blows, even into places that dim your flame. Others may see you as charming, fascinating, ethereal, but also unreliable. Hard to understand, hard to hold on to, hard to count on. They enjoy you in small doses but fear depending on you long term, because they sense that your soul might drift away at any moment. And sometimes they are right. Jung expressed it perfectly. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Your flow may be a disguised avoidance of choice. Your trust in the universe may be a fear of committing. Your surrender may be an escape from responsibility. Your freedom may be a refusal to grow roots. But here is the incredible potential of the paper lantern soul. You are capable of true transcendence. Not the kind found in books or in fake spiritual trends, but the real kind that comes when a person releases their old identity and becomes weightless enough to rise. People who choose this lantern often come from a story of heaviness, a former life where they were a ship lantern fighting storms, or a lighthouse carrying the burden of guiding everyone else. At some point, you realized, resistance breaks you, control suffocates you, holding on hurts more than letting go. So you chose another path, lightness, flow, trust. Your flame rises not because it is strong, but because you stopped clinging to the ground. Your path to wholeness is learning the sacred balance between surrender and responsibility. To rise, yes, but not to disappear. To flow, yes, but not to drift into nothingness. To trust, yes, but also to act when life requires action. To release what you cannot change and take full ownership of what you can. Because when a paper lantern soul finds that balance, they become something extraordinary. A symbol of hope that moves with grace, yet carries purpose. A free spirit anchored in wisdom. A light that rises on its own, not by force, but by alignment. And now that we've explored all 5 lights, it's time to bring everything together, to understand how these archetypes interact within us, how they balance one another, and what your choice says about your inner journey. Now that we've traveled through every inner light, the battered ship lantern, the radiant Moroccan lantern, the gentle candle lantern, the towering lighthouse, and the ascending paper lantern, it's time to bring the entire journey full circle. Because each of these symbols is more than a metaphor. They are maps. Maps of who we are, who we've been, and who we're becoming. And here's the truth Jung understood better than anyone. No single light defines a person completely. Each of us carries all of them, but one of them leads. The ship lantern reminds you that endurance is a superpower, but warns you not to mistake battle readiness for living. The Moroccan lantern reveals your creativity and sensitivity, but urges you to face depth instead of decorating your fears. The candle lantern shows your boundless empathy, but asks you to protect your flame before warming the world. The lighthouse reflects your clarity, purpose, and strength, but teaches you that wisdom without humanity becomes isolation. The paper lantern symbolizes surrender and hope, but challenges you to rise with intention, not drift. These lights are not opposites. They are allies. They are parts of a larger whole, a constellation within you. A strong lighthouse needs the warmth of a candle. A creative Moroccan lantern needs the grounding of a ship lantern. A compassionate candle lantern needs the freedom of the paper lantern. A surrendered paper lantern needs the unshakable clarity of the lighthouse. Your task isn't to judge your light. It's to understand it. To learn from its strengths, to recognize its shadows, to grow into balance. Because when you embrace both your light and your shadow, you step into what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole. And now I want to ask you something important. Which lantern did you choose? And how accurately did its strengths and shadows reflect your inner world? Tell us in the comments. Your stories matter, not only to us, but to the people who read them and recognize themselves in your words. Your support, your presence, your engagement, your like, and your subscription are the fuel that allows us to keep creating these deep journeys into the mind and soul. Without you, this channel is just a voice in the dark. With you, it becomes a shared path towards self-discovery. Thank you for walking this road with us, for your time, your attention, your curiosity, and your courage to look inward. Remember, your light is yours alone. Understand it, honor it, grow it, and shine in the way only you can. We'll meet again in the next journey inward.